2 years ago, Hannah, you made a bold claim. Do you remember what that bold claim was?
No, I don't remember what I ate for breakfast yesterday, so I doubt I remember what the bold claim was.
Well, about 2 years ago, probably almost to the day, you said that you wanted to see the Trans-Siberian Orchestra in concert.
Oh. Did I?
You did, yeah. And I didn't forget. I totally did forget. But then, this year, when I was thinking about what am I going to get Hannah for her Christmas present and potentially a birthday present kind of combined together into one. And I was like, I wonder what concerts or events are going on nearby. One of those was Trans-Siberian Orchestra Ghost of Christmas. And I was like, oh, yes, this is something that Hannah claimed that she needed. That if she was going to accurately rank the Trans-Siberian Orchestra in terms of Christmas music, you had to see them.
Yeah.
A couple days ago, or actually a week ago, Hannah and I went and saw ourselves a little Ghost of Christmas Eve Trans-Siberian Orchestra experience.
We did. I'm gonna say it was not what I was expecting.
Me either. No.
Not in a bad way.
Yeah, not in a bad way.
I went into this with little knowledge, but I assumed their concerts, I knew they were like, the rock, Christmas, a lot of orchestra, and I assumed the concert would be just like a full orchestra,
right?
Mostly instrumental, and then like maybe the songs that had singing would have like some, pre-recorded music, something like that would play over top. That's not what it was. I mean, there certainly is a lot of orchestra instruments and a lot of instrumental, but there was a lot more singing than I expected.
Yeah.
And live singing.
Yes.
A lot of singers, a whole story for the first half of the concert that goes along with the music, and kind of a whole production, and I wasn't really expecting that. But you know what? I was pleasantly surprised, and I feel like it matched my expectations of what I wanted out of that concert.
Yeah. I was not expecting a story to be revolving around a small runaway child trying to rediscover Christmas. I was like, oh, this is intense vibes off the get-go. Mm-hmm. And then the actual Christmas Eve production went for an hour and a half, and then the lights went dark, and I was like, oh, is this only an hour and a half? Like, that can't be right. And people were, like, getting up, and Hannah and I were like, okay. And so one of the, I think, guitarists came out and was like, oh yeah, we got a whole half another show for you. Like, they just do whatever for the second half. It's still, a lot of it's still Christmas music, but it's not part of the production. And I was like, that's confusing.
I mean, a lot of people were getting up during the last song of the first half and, like, leaving.
Yeah.
And I was like, the people next to us, like, got up and left.
I know. I was like, oh, okay.
And then they, like, came back, like, 30 minutes later, but yeah, it was very confusing. I had a moment that I will call a moment of shame. There was a singer that was singing for one of the songs, and they don't do, like, a lot of concerts. They'll have, like, the camera that zooms in and you can see them on the big board. They didn't do that because they had the story going on the side screens. And we were in the bottom section of, it's at a hockey arena. We were on the bottom section, but we were pretty far from the stage, so it's hard to see. You can't see the people on the stage that well.
And not in fine detail. You can make out, general characteristics, but
right.
Yeah.
And I heard a voice, and I was like, that voice sounds familiar. And I was like, I turned to listen, I was like, that sounds like Caleb Johnson. For those of you who did not watch American Idol
religiously,
he was a winner of, like, season 13 or 14. It was back in, like, 2013, 2014.
Check out our American Idol conspiracy theory episode.
Yeah.
To hear about how much we loved American Idol growing up, and maybe that will make this make more sense.
And also, I should say, I was not a fan of his. I did not vote for him. I wanted someone else to win. That didn't win. And then I was like, man, I Googled it, and I didn't see anything about it on his Wikipedia. So I was like, I must have been wrong. It was probably like 40 minutes later, an hour later, they were doing the part where they introduced the band and the singers. And all of a sudden, me and Alyssa hear, and from Asheville, North Carolina, Caleb Johnson. And Alyssa just turned to me and said, how did you know?
I was blown away. Because it's one thing if, like, you recognize someone's voice, right? Like, when you're expecting it, or just like in a movie or an animated film. But what a pull to just be listening to the Trans-Siberian Orchestra singing and just be like, yeah, that's Caleb Johnson. I think that's Caleb Johnson. Like, that sounds like him. And to be right on top of that. Not only does it sound like this person, it is that person. Like, you nailed it. I was blown away. I was like, how did you do that?
And the fact that I couldn't see him that well, so I couldn't even be like, oh yeah, that is because you can see his face.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was not very proud of myself in that moment.
No.
Felt a lot of shame. But, yeah. It was overall a good experience.
Yeah. Pretty much everyone was sitting at this concert the whole time. But I don't think I've ever gotten up so many times. Like, I think people came by, and we were pretty close to the end. Like, not all the... Like, there were probably, 4 people to the right of us?
Yeah, I think 3 or 4.
But closer to the end of an aisle. And I think we stood up combined 20 times throughout the whole show. Like, constantly up, down, up, down, up, down. And I was like, what is happening? Like...
It wasn't just us, though, because the two, like, the row and then the row in front of us, the people in front of me had to keep standing up, too.
Yeah, it was, like, not just our rows.
It was a normal length show, and it ended up being, like, 2.5 hours, which is pretty average for a concert.
Right.
Yeah, usually people don't get up that much, but I wonder if because it was more, like, family-oriented, and there was more, but I went to Pentatonics, and there were not that many people getting up either.
And then, at a certain point, this woman almost fell down the stairs. Like, she screamed.
And it was, like, silent.
It was silent. It was so loud. I was like, oh my god. This time, though, we didn't have to go into the men's room to use the bathroom.
No, the bathroom lines were not bad at all.
What a great way to tie back into our roots with this podcast. One of our first-year episodes.
Yeah, I kind of forgot I made that claim, so...
Yeah, and then now we are. Here we are. You've seen them.
I have.
Seen the glory of...
My life is complete.
Yes. The glory of the Trans-Siberian Orchestra.
All I needed.
Sing that. Do. So much fire, too. There's a lot of fire.
A lot of pyro.
A lot of pyrotechnics, yeah.
Which was cool. A lot of lights.
I knew they were new. I knew they were known for their lights show. Like, I don't know why that sentence was so hard to get out.
Yeah, that was very
Too
hard.
many K's and N's together. Yeah. Sometimes it happens.
Yeah.
Cheers to year 3.
Yeah.
You gonna say something else?
No, I was trying to think of something funny
okay.
and I couldn't think of anything.
I just thought we could just end it by okay, whatever, it's fine.
Welcome to Research Rank Repeat. This is co-host Hannah.
This is co-host Alyssa. We're here for a little song and dance today because, as you maybe saw by the title or didn't read, it's year 3. We made it. We made it through year 3.
We made it.
We made it.
Honestly, didn't think we'd get to this point.
We did. I had faith.
Okay.
Excuse me. I had faith.
You mean excuse you?
Excuse you. I had faith.
Yeah.
Or no, excuse me. Excuse me.
Okay.
Excuse me from your doubt is what I wanted to say.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I think it was my own personal doubt about myself.
Yeah, so excuse me from your doubts. I believed.
Oh, okay.
Like the Polar Express, I believe.
You believe. I know you were touched by that movie. You can't stop talking about it. Yeah, we made it to another year. And, yeah.
Year 3, baby.
This is the first year we haven't recorded this together.
Yeah, unfortunately, it didn't work out due to some little sick.
Alyssa's a little sick child.
I am. As one of my friends said earlier today, I'm in a sickly Victorian child mode.
Yeah.
So, the fatigue is taking over my body.
We have our hats.
We do. We have our party hats. They're back for the 3rd year.
A lot has happened this last year. You were not... Okay, he jumped away. I was trying to show Cash because he was not around last year.
He's not.
He's a new addition.
But yeah, for those of you who don't know, our anniversary of our podcast is January 6th, 2021, which, if you're not American...
Finger guns was a bad choice.
Yeah, but
I'm sorry.
Ooh, eat.
I did for those who didn't. Obviously, some of you can't watch. I did finger guns, which was not a good choice if you know January 6th history.
If you're not American, the great insurrection of January 6, 2021 occurred on the anniversary of, or the day we started our podcast, officially launched it, to the point that we had to delay it a week because we were going to put out our Instagram post, and we had to be like, well, I guess we had to delay it because we can't put this out when it seems concerning for the state of our nation. So,
yeah. So our official anniversary is January 6th, but unofficially it's not.
Unofficially, yeah. But officially,
Yeah.
January 6, 2021.
I feel like we found a good balance this year. 'Cause
Yeah.
I felt like our first year we went full throttle.
Yes. The COVID throttle really fueled
Yeah.
us. You know, that whole being at home, not being able to do anything, gave us a lot of free time with
Yeah.
nothing to do.
I feel like the next year we burnt out,
Oh, yeah.
and we just kind of went dark for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like this year we found a good system of kind of having a schedule, but also knowing we could shift around if
Yeah,
needed.
being a bit
And,
more flexible. Yeah, I think the plan of going roughly more twice a month or so worked better for us, like scheduling wise. I think that made it a bit more easier to schedule, to plan episodes, to prepare, especially with this year launching a more long form series again, like we did when we started with Pixar, because that takes a lot of time.
I feel good about next year. We have some
Fun projects. Fun
but
projects.
potentially could get people mad at us.
Oh, for sure.
Could get certain fan bases coming after us, including me being a part of one of the fan bases. So we have some cool stuff coming up, and
I think also we have some more guests coming that unfortunately we'll talk about this. We had no guests this year. Just the way it worked out with the writing and acting strike, with us having to push back some of our projects that we wanted to do, just in general timing wise, meant that some of that stuff's going to be next year instead, or we have some other things we had planned that are going to be next year. So look forward to more guests next year, 2024, the year of the guest returns. Because that's one thing I did miss this year, was not having any guests with us on any episodes.
It is nice to get like that third opinion, third voice in, and we have quite a few guests planned for next year. So
Returning and new, yeah.
the writing and acting strike, like bringing that up, that really did.
Took...
It impacted I know it impacted a lot of different medias.
Course, yeah.
Obviously, besides like delaying production and people not working and stuff like that. But yeah, we're glad it's over, and I think like most important, hopefully, that it ended in a way that is actually beneficial to the people who were trying to like
receive better pay.
Receive better wages, pay. Yeah, so that definitely like shifted some of our plans, but hopefully this year we won't have to deal with any of that.
I think it shifted 3 months worth of plans.
Yeah, because we had quite a bit. We were about to start, and then we just figured there's no point in recording it because we weren't going to be able to put it out for a while anyways. I feel like we both kind of did some background research on what was appropriate and what was...
Right, because we wanted to stand in solidarity with people striking, but also we still wanted to do things around the scope of what we normally talk about, because we're a pretty heavy TV, movie, film podcast. We certainly do other episodes, clearly, as we're ranking CSI Miami. That's TV related.
That's TV.
As we're ranking like food and drink, and I realized
out of all the episodes we've had that are Lunchables,
but a lot of what we do, and especially this year, did revolve around TV and film. So
right. I think it's been a fun year, and I'm looking forward to next year. And
me too.
That's kind of my overall thoughts on the year.
This year was, in a lot of ways, our smallest output.
Yeah.
In terms of episodes. But on one hand, we were already going to be putting out less episodes anyway, due to the fact that we were reducing our amount by like half of what we were doing, roughly. And secondly, we did a lot of behind the scenes work, big project work, that took up a lot of time. Because the Studio Ghibli, which we've kind of talked about, we started recording that in the summer of 2022. So a year and a half ago is when we started those movies. And we have finally finished it as of December. Watched 24 films. And we're almost done putting the episodes up, like editing those and getting those out. But that's a huge undertaking to do that many movies. I mean, to be fair, we had gone on hiatus partly because of that, first episode.
But also too, like, while we were doing that, we were also doing other episodes and other things. Like when we did Pixar, we just did all Pixar.
Just Pixar, yeah.
And it took us a couple months just to do that, but like this time we were still doing other episodes while we were in the middle of doing it. So yeah.
I think Pixar took us about 6 months.
Right.
To do from start to putting out episodes. I think it was about 6 months. Yeah. I feel good where we're at. I feel positive about the future for next year. Sometimes I feel like we have more things we want to do than we have time for, which that makes it hard to kind of prioritize. Because I feel like we have a lot of ideas. Had a lot of ideas going into this next year that we're like, what can we feasibly get done? Like, what is feasible?
Yeah.
Yeah, but so we're going to be coming back with some stats, which is something we started when we did our year 1 in review in 2021. So I'm going to be covering our stats from our podcast host server, which is Podbean. I don't know if we've ever actually said that before, but we host through Podbean.
I also will say we're not sponsored by them, but they're reliable. We haven't really had any issues with them. Not like Survey Monkey.
Oh my god, Survey Monkey? What a piece of shit.
Fuck you, Survey Monkey. But Podbean, I actually would be like, yeah, it's a good service because I've never had an issue.
There's a couple different, Anchor, I think, is another podcast host server. There's a couple of them, but I've had no issues with Podbean. I like that they provide all the stats in a really easy, clean manner that I can interpret the data, take from their website, and then do this. So we're gonna get to some stats, and then Hannah has a few things from our Spotify specifically, because most of our listens are through Spotify or Apple Podcasts, but Apple Podcasts doesn't give you...
I haven't really looked into it much, but Spotify does the Spotify Wrapped for podcasters, which is kind of cool, and gives you different facts, so I usually just pull some of those to share.
Yeah. Starting off, we're going to start with our states. This year, we have claimed 43 states, which has brought us 3 states closer from last year to our goal of conquering all 50 states in the U.S. Slowly but steadily, we are making our way to 50. So 86% of states we have claimed. And this year, only 1% of people used a VPN, or their location couldn't be specified, just US in general. Last year that was 10, so that's actually dropped quite a bit. But our top 5 states, which actually is pretty different from last year. So this year, our top state was Michigan, which was the same. But then our next states are Washington was number 2, Indiana number 3, Oregon number 4, and New York number 5. The top 5 states are about 3/4 of our total listens come from those states, so 77.5% of listens from the U.S. Last year, our top 5 states were Michigan, California, Ohio, New Jersey, and Oregon. So the only state that stayed in was Oregon. Everyone else was a real toss-up.
That's actually kind of interesting.
Yeah, which is really interesting to see. I like when things change, that you can kind of be like, oh, that's interesting. We can track that change.
It's it's not the same 4 people listening.
Right. That's true.
Unless they moved.
We can guarantee it's not just people we know technically listening to this podcast. And when we get to the countries, which I'm going to cover right now, it's definitely not people we know. I also don't really
know anyone living in New York. I do know people who live in New York, but I don't know if they'd be listening to this.
But I'm like, people I don't think would listen to it. So right. It's possible. Hey, if you're someone we know in New York and you listen, let us know. We'd love to thank you.
Yeah.
Send you thanks, New York.
We'll send you one of the hats.
I'll send you those Thanksgiving jelly beans, the flavored Thanksgiving jelly beans, and you can eat those. Enjoy them with us.
They're still fresh.
They're still fresh. Oh my God. This year, we have conquered 59 countries, which is actually up from 48 last year. So countries actually increased 11 countries we got. So we have conquered 30.3% of the world we've had listens from. 1/3, that's pretty good.
World domination.
World domination, we're coming in. And still,
9 years.
unfortunately, 6 out of 7 continents, because we're not going to get Antarctica unless someone at a research station is listening in.
If anyone of our listeners is ever going to go to Antarctica, please, just put us on mute and listen to an episode.
The problem is, with Antarctica, is a lot of times people download things before they go.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if Antarctica technically has, like, good Wi-Fi.
Well, maybe one day.
Okay, so our top 5 countries. And this also changed quite a bit, which is really interesting. And I have some thoughts on why that may have happened. Okay. So, as always, the U.S. is number 1. That's never changed. I don't really see that changing, as we are a U.S.-based podcast, so yes. It seems reasonable to say that we'd be the most popular in the U.S. But in second place, we have the United Kingdom. Good old UK.
Okay.
Third, we have Germany. Fourth, so this is new this year, Hong Kong is its own entity. So technically Hong Kong is, like, not technically a country. So yes. I guess we could call it China. Hong Kong, like, is listed as its own, like, source. So it lists just Hong Kong. Because I was trying to look that up. I was like, I don't think Hong Kong is a country. It's like a territory/city. It's kind of like, at least from what I was gathering, it's similar to maybe, like, DC. And it's kind of exists in its own space, you know?
Right.
Because DC also does separate listens as well.
Yeah.
Because we've gotten DC listens before. So I guess you could technically say China, but we'll just do Hong Kong for the simplicity's sake of the fact that Hong Kong is what was listed. And then number 5, we have India. So from last year, we had US was number 1, and then we had Mexico, Brazil, the UK, and France. So again, the only country that was there was the UK. Everything is different.
And I knew Brazil was really big with Lady Gaga.
Yes.
A lot of our Brazil listens are for Lady Gaga.
For sure. Yeah.
And I think since it's now been...
We still get quite a...
Like, well, we still do, but it's not near Lady the Gaga. Amount that we did when we first
for sure.
Put it out. So I feel like that makes sense that one dropped off.
Yeah, no, it's still... Every year, I'm always like... How many listens did Lady Gaga get this year? Because it's still, we'll get to it, it's still our most listened to episode of all time.
Yeah. I could see, like, the Studio Ghibli bringing in some more international listeners.
That was my thought on why Hong Kong, we have so many from Hong Kong, is due to our Studio Ghibli.
Because I know it's, like, a Japanese based company, but I also feel like that's one of those series that kind of... is big in a lot of places, not just in Japan and U.S. Yes, so
that was my thought as well. So now we have our top country from every continent, because I think this is an interesting fact. So North America, it's the United States. Europe, it's the UK. From South America, it's Uruguay. Uruguay, however you would like to pronounce that. Last year was Brazil. So Brazil wasn't even the top country South America, even.
Interesting.
Asia is Hong Kong. Japan in 2022 was our top Asian country. And then Africa is Egypt this year. Super fun, Egypt. Last year it was Kenya and Nigeria. This year it's Egypt.
Interesting.
We get a little bit of listens from Africa. Not very many, but
yeah,
it's interesting with how those change, though, where I'm like, got a nice little Egypt listen. So, on episodes, I have, we're going to do separately the top 5 listened to episodes of just this year, and then we also have the top 5 most downloaded total. So for this year, our number 1 most listened to episode is still Lady Gaga, Hannah's Bad Romance. So still the most downloaded episode of 2023, just 2023.
It's still crazy to me that one just still gets so many listens. It's still,
like, the fact that this episode came out in 2021... 2 years ago, and yet it's the most listened to episode of this year.
That's crazy.
So and this is what I find really interesting, Hannah. So it had 10.4% of listens, which is 0.1% higher than last year. So it essentially kept the same amount of listens this year as it did last year. So number 2, Studio Ghibli Part 1. Episode 1 got the 2nd slot, which I think is fun. And that one we did get quite a bit of listens right away, which is really nice to see.
Yeah, it was like pretty quickly.
Yeah, which was nice because we were like, good. We put a lot of fucking work into this series.
And I was like, oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it's nice to see some listens. So that was 4.8% of listens was Studio Ghibli Part 1. Last year, that was our Avril Lavigne episode. Held that position last year. Number 3, for some reason, which I still don't understand, CSI Miami, Hannah Gets Fooled Again. Number 3.
Know. I don't get that episode.
Same spot. This was also the 3rd most listened to episode of 2022. This one makes no sense to me.
It doesn't.
It makes no sense. I don't understand why people are listening to this episode. Like, is it just because it says CSI Miami? Is that why it's...
Like, when we did that one, it was, like, such, like, a random,
it's
like...
just, we just wanted to do it.
Specific reason we did it, and then to see it get so many listens, we were so both weird. Like, what?
It's so weird to me, Hannah, because sometimes we do an episode that I think should do really well, and it doesn't. It does so poorly. And then we do an episode like this where we just do it for us, and it's, like, one of the most listened to
It might
episodes.
just be because it says CSI Miami, because people search for certain categories, and...
I guess so.
That's what they get to.
But this year was 3.9%, which was up 0.4% from last year. So again, it's roughly about the same amount, percentage of listens from last year to this year. So keeping pretty consistent. Number 4, which love to see it, March Madness episode 2. Ugh. Number 4, I love the March Madness episodes. They're so fun. That's one of those ones that I'm like, we just do it because we love it. Like,
but it's like nice to also see that people like listen to it.
Right.
Yeah, because in the past our sports ones have been...
Oh, did shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but that one had 3.4% of listens in the 4th place. So last year, our 4th most listened to episode was the 2021 year 1 Extravaganza. And then in 5th place is Studio Ghibli Part 2.
Nice.
Yeah, so...
Studio Ghibli, like, pulling in.
Studio Ghibli coming in, which makes sense. I mean, they got a movie that just came out, so...
Right.
The recency bias is also there.
It's also, like, a popular topic.
Yes.
You know.
So that had 3.1%. So 3, 4, and 5 were all pretty close together, all within 3%. So, again, Lady Gaga up here, and then everything else is kind of, like, around the same point. Yeah, 3.1, and last year, the episode that was in 5th was the episode about cheese. Let's Agree to Disagree.
Disagree,
Which I love the cheese episode. It's a favorite.
So good.
One of my favorites of 2022. So now we have our top 5 most downloaded episodes total. So just across the board every year. And this is really interesting because, Hannah, all of the episodes are the same from last year, with the exception of 3rd and 4th place swapped. Otherwise, it's the same exact list. So, what do you think number one is?
It's Lady Gaga.
It's Lady Gaga. 13.6% of total listens are Lady Gaga, which is a little bit down from last year.
Yeah. Is number 2 still ABC Family?
It's still TV Pilot's ABC Family. And just the first one. Not the second one. Just the first one. That one was weird to me, too, why we got so many listens on the TV pilots for ABC Family. I don't know if it's because it was Pretty Little Liars, or I was like, what show was in there? Like, I don't know. But it wasn't in our top 5 last year, and it wasn't in our top 5 this year for the year total. But still number 2 for total listens. Number 3, CSI Miami, Hannah Gets Fooled Again. So last year that was 4. This year it's 3. Avril Lavigne, Bite Me, dropped to number 4. And then 5, Pixar Part 1, Bros Before Bows. And so it's funny where it's like Lady Gaga has 13.6%, and then it goes 3.9, 3.2, 3.1, 2%, where it's like that is such a drastic drop of just total domination of Lady Gaga. And I mean, what's not to like, right? I'm just going to leave my hat here to hang out.
Just do it.
All right, our most popular months. Number 1, July, November, April, August, and January. July, I believe, is when we released the first episode of Studio Ghibli.
I think so.
So that kind of makes sense, if that being like one of our most listened to episodes of the year. Checks out. So listening source. So this is where people are listening to our podcast, whether that be Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or some weird ones, because we have 19 different listening sources this year. 6% of listens came from an unknown source, but some of those are based on countries. Like some of them are things I've never heard of before.
Right.
This year, which is pretty similar to last year, is Spotify in first. 44% of listens come from Spotify. Then we have Apple Podcasts with 14.3%. Amazon Music Podcasts, 11.7%. Google Chrome, 8.7%. And then new this year is Stitcher. 5% of listens came from Stitcher. Last year it was Player FM was our 5th spot. Everything else, though, stayed the same. Percentages changed a little bit, but Stitcher was the new one. So apparently Stitcher is a big hub for podcast people who listen to us. All right, so now some stats about the episodes themselves. Total number of episodes, we've almost hit 100. Technically, we're over 100 for total just things we've put out, because we've done bonus episodes, we've done bloopers, we've done like a trailer. So with all those included, we're over 100, but we're almost at 100 full episodes. I say that in quotes, like what we're calling a full episode. And in 2023, we had 17 total episodes with one bonus episode that was bloopers. Our total time, 1,112 minutes, which equals 18 hours and 30 minutes of content this year that we put out for you. So last year, we put out 25 hours. So it actually, like, technically our output, like, lengthwise was not that much different from 2022.
Right.
But when you compare it to 2021, 53 hours. I can't believe we have almost 100 hours of content.
That's insane.
Just out in general. It's crazy to me. We're almost
If
there.
our
in
mom
the 90s.
ever found this, she'd have almost 100 hours of content to listen to.
I was traveling with my mom 2 days ago. We were driving to visit our grandma, and she lives a couple hours away. And we listened to podcasts the whole time because she loves podcasts now. And the whole time I was like, please just don't ever mention our podcast. Don't ask me what the name is. I don't want to tell you. I don't want her to know about it.
No.
It needs to stay separate. Like I don't want her involved with that. She can't know.
She can't know. She has been on it, but she can't know.
We also can't because we talk about her multiple times, you know? Yeah. She's come up a lot. So, like, I'm like, I don't remember what we said about her. Yeah. You know, we talked about her fat doobie of when she made her own incense, rivaling Snoop Dogg.
Yeah. And with how many times I've said penis.
Yeah.
I don't want her to listen.
No. But anyway, so our longest episode of 2023 was our TV finales episode that came in at 2 hours and 4 minutes. Long episode. And we had a close, the Ghibli Part 3, the episode that just came out recently, that one was close. It was 2 hours and 2 minutes. So pretty close, but not as long. All right, this year we had no guests, no episode with guests. But in terms of like how we can distribute our episodes, we had one episode on music, one episode on TV, which that surprises me.
Yeah.
That the only episode we did technically was TV finales.
We had a couple planned that we had to move.
Exactly. That's what I was like, in retrospect, it makes sense because of the writing and acting strike. We had to move some of our planned TV episodes.
Because we would have had more.
Yeah. We had 8 movies, 2 taste testing, and 14 miscellaneous.
Oh, God.
We love that.
Yes.
And we had, and I didn't put in a number, but we had many multi-part episodes, both episodes broken into multiple parts with our Studio Ghibli and episodes that are continuations from last year. Many. And we had 3 minisodes, mainly movie minisodes.
Yes.
And one taste testing minisode.
Yeah.
Something, I don't even remember if we talked about this on the podcast, but we technically have a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
It is bare bones. We just like have a setting on Podbean that you can upload to YouTube. So pretty much the episodes just get uploaded to YouTube as is. They're just audio. There's nothing special with them. If you wanted to listen on YouTube, feel free to do that. But we just wanted to throw them up there. And the intention is to upload all of our episodes to be on YouTube, just so they can exist there. I went and found some stats because I was curious because we started doing that, and I think in the summer I set that up. Here's some fun stats, Hannah. We have 1 subscriber.
Yeah.
I don't know who it is. I couldn't look up who the subscriber was. I don't think it's anyone we know because I don't even remember telling people that we had it. So,
yeah, I don't know.
We also, Hannah, have 1 comment on one of our videos. The comment is, "Where am I?"
I mean, same.
Which I love.
Which
I love. I can respect that. Very fair. We don't have enough information for a lot of the analytical content, so some of it is very much tied to the amount of views you have, which, as you can imagine, we don't have a lot of views. We surprisingly have more views than I thought we would have had.
Yeah.
Like, it's a couple hundred total.
Yeah.
Which I was like...
Yeah, I mean, there's not... A lot of the episodes aren't up there because they didn't all, like, transfer over.
I think there's only 6 or 7 right now.
I do like it, though, because it gives people the option for captioning.
Right. Yes.
And, like, transcriptions, which,
it does.
As of right now, we don't, like, have those for episodes.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But I have, like, checked, and you can, it shows the captioning of what we're saying, so it is kind of, like, an accessible way for people to listen if they want to, which is nice.
One of the analytics, though, that I could find is it can show you how your video's recommended. People who have come to the episodes, where do they come from? So we can, like, get the analytics on the videos that brought people to our podcast episodes. And this is my favorite part, because it makes absolutely no fucking sense, Hannah. Some of them do. I will say, some of them do, but a lot of them do not. All right. Would you like to hear some of them?
Yes.
Okay, our most popular video that has brought us to our podcast is Draven Man Tries to Rizz Up a Girl featuring Gamer Girl. Fears of Forgetting. Art of the Choke, which I believe is about baseball and not about sex, based on what I looked at, because I was curious. I was like, oh, interesting. We got a community coming in here. The podcast Morbid, which is a true crime podcast, Listener Tales 41. The Oregon Trail gameplay. Even fancier, paintings. Monster Factory, Yoba Skywalker Star Wars Goes to Infinity and Beyond. And The Search for D.B. Cooper. So a lot of our, like, focal points were true crime. I didn't list everything that was linked here, but a lot of them were true crime. We also had a couple, like, planet space ones, which were our most listened to episode. I should say most listened to episode on YouTube is our planets episode. Right. So a lot of the links were, like, space science related, which makes sense as it is a space based episode. But I don't know why the skew to true crime.
I feel like, though, you know
I don't
how,
get
like,
why that happens.
YouTube seldom makes sense with recommended videos.
That's
because
true.
I end up in some weird
you're right,
trails.
That's how I watched so much ER clips, because it just kept recommending me ER.
That's how I got to Bondi Rescue. Like, you get some weird recommendations, like, from videos that don't really make sense. So I can see that. Just on a random trail. And I wonder if I'll ever end up on one of our videos.
Oh, like, just to get randomly.
Like, I just randomly YouTube.
That would be so fun if that happened.
Yeah.
The most device watches were on phones, then computers, and then tablets. So most people who are checking out our videos were on a phone.
It kind of makes sense, because I feel like a lot of people nowadays do stuff on their phones.
Yeah.
I watch YouTube on my phone.
Me too. So.
And my computer, but.
Yeah, phone and computer are my two most common ones, so that makes sense. But yeah, so those are just a few stats I had from YouTube, because I thought that was kind of funny, just to pull some of that stuff, because I was like, we don't get any, like, age, demographic, location, because there's not enough data for that. But
yeah,
what we do have is very interesting.
Quality stuff. Okay, are we good for Spotify?
Yes, I have covered everything that I wanted to cover.
Okay, these are our Spotify Wrapped for 2023.
Okay, hit me.
Top episode just on Spotify was Studio Ghibli Part 1.
Excellent.
It was streamed 180% more than the average episode.
Oh, very nice.
This one was this one made me happy. 36% of our Spotify listeners discovered us this year in 2023.
Oh, that's nice.
So that's like over a third of Spotify listeners discovered us this year, which is cool. Yeah. That means we have more listeners on Spotify.
Yeah, that's nice.
Top country is the U.S., which, not surprising, it's 90% of total streams, which I think Spotify is pretty U.S. predominant.
It is a lot more U.S. than
right. I think a lot of other countries use different services and stuff. So this is interesting because I don't know if they did this last year, but it breaks down. So out of our listeners, what their top podcast genres were this year.
Okay.
So the top 3 were comedy, TV and film, and true crime, which kind of makes sense because, like, TV and film, and, like, I could see comedy. True crime, I don't know how we keep getting...
Well, I mean, I listen to a lot of true crime.
That's true. I think a lot of people just listen to true crime.
Who listen to our podcast also listen to true crime, so I feel like it's just a common genre.
And then our listeners' top music genres, which I thought was interesting.
Okay.
Their top 3 were pop, rap, and rock.
Okay. Nice.
So our most shared episode was Pixar Part 5, our rankings episode. That was the one that was like, you can share, you know, like.
Okay.
So somehow that one got shared the most.
Huh.
Top 4 countries were the US, the UK, India, and Mexico.
Okay.
In terms of age demographics, 42.6% of our listeners are between the age of 23 to 27.
Okay.
41.42% are between the age of 28 to 34.
Yeah, that makes sense.
10% are 0 to 17.
Oh, okay.
So some teens.
Yeah, some teens, I guess.
Which is mildly concerning because of some of the stuff we talk about. But
yeah, I guess if you're 15, 16, that's fine. If you're a high schooler, sure.
Yeah. And then 4.73% were ages 35 to 44.
Okay.
In terms of gender breakdown, they only do male and female.
Okay.
They did have a section for non-binary, prefer not to say, that was at 0%. So everyone who was on there had picked a gender. I think you could elect to whatever.
I don't even remember doing that on Spotify.
I don't either, but it did have a section for non-binary. So I'm there must be somewhere in your profile where you can select that.
I guess, yeah.
So females 85%, males 15%, which is not at all shocking.
Not shocking.
Yeah, so that is the stats we got, which I thought was cool because I don't remember them giving us what listeners' top music genre was last year. That was new this year, which was cool.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so that is just from some Spotify statistics.
Nice. How great. But yeah, so we just wanted to provide some stats because that's just fun to do a little breakdown of some of the statistics of our podcast. I didn't include it in the stats total, but our total number of listens was not that different from this year to last year.
Yeah.
Which suggests that, there is some growth because we put out less content, less episodes this year than last year. So, that was nice to see, I guess I should say. It's nice to see a pretty consistent amount of listens.
We've been kind of pretty consistent all 3 years.
Yeah.
Within a relative amount,
Yes. Yeah.
There's been some variation, but yeah, it is cool because we put out, our first year we put out a ton of episodes. This year we put out, more than half less. More than...
Yeah.
How do you say that? More than...
What are you doing? Half the amount of episodes?
Half the amount.
Okay.
But, half and then less than half. Less than half.
Sure. Less than
Anyways,
half
whatever.
Yeah.
We put out a lot less episodes, but we still got a decent amount of listens, which means more listens per the episodes that did come out, which is cool.
Yeah. It's
Which
nice.
is cool. We've never done it for the stats, but me and you are both kind of nerdy about that stuff, so it's just cool to see.
I was gonna say, we don't, this isn't our job, so we don't really care about, the total number of people who listen. We just think it's fun to know, where people come from, what episodes are popular, just for our own knowledge, and, also sometimes we can use that to kind of determine, what types of episodes we do.
We also sometimes use it to determine what month we take off, because there is a lull in the summer.
Yes.
Where there are statistically just less listeners.
Yeah.
So we do kind of use it for that, too.
Yeah, so that can be helpful, beneficial to us to kind of figure some things out. So, yeah. But as we do with most years, we have come to rank our top episodes of this year specifically. So I think we had done that.
Yeah, in the past 2 years, we had done 10 episodes apiece. Mm-hmm. We decided this year, since we put out less, we would do a top 7.
Top 7, yeah.
Yeah. Would you like to start, or would you like me to start?
I think you could start. I think I went first last time. We had a ranking.
Okay. So my number 7 episode of 2023, I went with Variety Hour Part 3.
Okay.
I always have liked our Variety Hour episodes, and I liked this year we did 2 new segments. We did Letterbox and News titles, and I thought both of them were fun. And I just like Variety Hour because we get to kind of just have conversations, and it's not really planned, minus the segments we're going to do. It's kind of more unstructured, where we can kind of just talk about whatever.
I would agree. You might hear that one later. Perhaps. So for number 7, I put canned chicken noodle soup ranking, because I really love the food ranking episodes, and we only did one proper one and one small one this year. But it is hard to do, kind of have to be together to do the food ranking, with our whiteboard, so we can't do those as often as a lot of the other episodes we can do, and record over Zoom. But that one was fun because we just got cans of soup and just made chicken noodle soup and just tasted it. And like some of them were good and some of them were really bad. And it was just like a fun way to start the year because we did that like right after Christmas.
Yeah, that was like
I think.
That was right after Christmas.
Yeah, so it was a fun way to like start our year like episode wise with chicken noodle soup. So
it also too like we only had 2 saucepans, so we had to like cook 2 at a time, and then we had like this whole process going on.
It was a process.
And in past we've been able to like retaste stuff. We couldn't do that because we were having to switch it out. So yeah, that was an interesting one to do. I almost picked that one.
Yeah.
Number 6, I have Fast X. Vin Diesel saves the Vatican.
Vin Diesel.
You know what? I would be lying if I said a little part of me didn't get excited the past 2 times we've gone to see a Fast and the Furious movie in theaters. Like, there's something about them where I know they're gonna be over the top. I know there's gonna be a lot of lines about family. I know there's a lot of, like, masculinity in there, but something about watching those movies in theaters like I look forward to now. Never thought I'd be that person, so I had to put the episode on here because it was just a bonus episode, but something about the whole experience is just, we know nothing about cars, but we make it work.
Yeah, well, technically it's a mini episode, not a bonus episode.
Oh yeah, that's true.
It's a real episode, just mini-sode,
yes.
Small scale. But I also put Fast X as number 6 on my ranking because for the same reason. Yeah. I don't know why. It's so entertaining. It's a very enjoyable experience. Like, yeah, I like going to the theater to watch Fast and the Furious films. I don't know what it is. We got sucked in, Hannah. I get it. Like, we said this when we did our main episode, but I get why people like the series. Like, it's entertaining. This movie was not necessarily the best, but the villain was very entertaining. The stunt work was entertaining. And the episodes are always fun because I like, it's not too, like, it's not high stakes. It's pretty, like, low key. It's just, like, for fun. I don't take it too seriously, so it is. I enjoy it. I do enjoy it. I'm sad probably not getting anything until a year from now.
Yeah, I think we have to wait till next year.
So, sad times.
Bummer. Okay, number 5, I did a collective of our so far Studio Ghibli episodes. I kind of like these long format ones, like Pixar, where we can do like this in-depth look at a series of movies. This one has definitely felt easier than Pixar was, just in terms of like the way we spaced it out and how we've kind of done the editing, so it didn't get as tiring as the first as Pixar was. I didn't put it low, or I didn't put it higher, just because we're not done with all of them yet, and it's more about the collective 3 episodes we've put out, so I kind of just combined them all into one.
That's fair. So for number 5, I have Studio Ghibli episode 1 specifically, and I put this here because I agree. I liked having the long form episodes. We aren't done yet, so that's why I'm like, I can't have it like number 1 yet. But specifically episode 1, I think because we had recorded it like a year before we put it out. We'd been sitting on it for a long time, and I was just like happy to see it come out and do well and like get it out there. And it was something we had wanted to do since we'd started the podcast. Like, we'd been talking about this in 2020 of something we wanted to do. So it was nice that we watched it and were able to put it out, because there was a period of time where I didn't think we were actually going to end up doing this, so I was glad that we were able to get there.
Yeah, I agree. Number 4, I went with TV finales we played ourselves. This was interesting because it was like a new twist on an existing idea, because we had done the TV pilots a couple different times. And then we had this idea of, like, what if we watch finales? And then it was very chaotic and unhinged partly because I had watched all of them and then we decided not to do it. And then we waited a couple months and then I had to try to remember. I didn't rewatch the episodes. I had to try to remember what happened. Also, too, I just think it led to some, like, interesting conversations and funny things, just because some of the finales were so confusing as people who had never seen the show. So yeah, I just think the episode itself was like chaotic, but I enjoyed the format, and we've also talked about doing like finales of pilots we've already done and see how the finales ranked compared to where the pilots ranked. So I think it was just like an interesting concept.
Yeah, that one almost made my list. That was like right near the the soup one as one. But I think it's our longest episode.
Yeah.
And it was so chaotic.
Yeah.
The whole process was chaotic. It was fun, though. It was a fun, concept to kind of get and do, so. So number 4, I have Variety Hour Part 3. Those are always just so fun. Like, it doesn't require a lot of background work. Like, you don't have to put in a lot of hours. Like, something like Studio Ghibli, where you have to do so much in the background before we can actually record it. And I liked having our new ones. Particularly the Letterboxd is really fun. Doing the Letterboxd reviews and guessing the movie. But yeah, I always really like doing those. I'm glad we just do them once a year, just as like a light, fun episode, because I find those ones to be funny for us. Maybe not for everyone else, but I always find find a lot of it very funny in general.
Yeah. Number 3, March Madness Mascot Mayhem 2. I love the March Madness ones. Like, not even just the episode, but they're so much fun to put together, like the prep, because you get these ridiculous mascots, you get this weird background information. Also, I like doing the bracket style. We don't technically do, like, a ranking. Mm-hmm. I mean, we get, like, our top team, but it's a different way of doing it. And, I don't know. There's always new teams every year. I think we had like 30 new teams from the first year to the second year.
I think it was about half our teams were
new. And so we get new teams, we get new matchups. It's something we can do every year. Spoiler, we're going to do it again this year because...
Of course we are.
We're now addicted to looking up mascots.
It's just fun, yeah.
It's fun, and it's like we can do this bracket, and it's like... It's kind of one of those, like, fun episodes where, like, it's not high stakes. I mean, they're mascots.
They're college basketball mascots.
And some of them get through just by the virtue of not being problematic compared to the other mascots they're lined up with. So it's just fun to do. It's fun to get a little bit of background on these teams. And also, like, I feel like the time of the year is cool because we normally do brackets, like, the actual brackets, too. Yeah. So it's fun to have a bracket where it's, like, this is no pressure. We're not have money on this. And it's just, like, which mascot do you like the most? So, I always enjoy those ones.
Yeah. So number 3, I have the Planets episode. So this one is one of those episodes, and there's always one every year that I'm like, this is probably one of my favorite episodes that we did. Yep. I think it was very funny. I thought it was well put together. I liked the concept, not just of our favorite planets, but planets that you'd most want to live on, specifically. And I really am proud of it, but it's one of those episodes where, like, this was one of our lowest performing episodes of this year, just stats-wise alone. And it's funny, that's why I think it's funny that's our most watched episode on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, numbers-wise. But just in general, like, actual downloads, I'm like, I wish this would do a lot better. Like, so if you're out there listening to this and you haven't listened to The Planets, check it out, because I really like it. I'm really happy with the way that one came out, and it's not that long.
It's shorter. I was going to say it's like 30, 40 minutes.
Yeah, it's less than an hour, so... But I really enjoyed that one, and I like when we do kind of, like, stuff that's not necessarily... It's kind of like the American Idol winners, the second place over the winners. Like, I like doing things that are just, like, slightly off, because it makes it a little bit more interesting, I think.
Yeah. Number 2, I have Planets. This was a suggested episode, too.
Yeah.
Someone gave us this idea, and it's fun. I feel like this reminds me of, like, the candle one we did, where it's, in theory, it's like, is it really that interesting of an episode? But they always end up being really fun, really chaotic. We made some really inappropriate jokes, like we always do. I was re-listening to some of these episodes, like, the past week just to kind of remember what we had talked about, and I laughed a couple times because we made some jokes.
When doing the social media, sometimes it's hard to find clips for it. That one, I had like 5 minutes of stuff, and I had to just keep cutting it down to be able to fit on Instagram, because I just had so many things that I thought were so funny or like insightful comments. So that's always, it's hard when there's that much stuff. There's a lot of things that could work.
And I also enjoyed that one because it's like, the background was really interesting because it is very like scientific in nature, and like some of these backgrounds we do, it's like popcorn, you know what I mean? It's like popcorn or something like that. So I feel like the planets one, it's like we rank the planets, but based on if you want to live there. So it's like, that's kind of what's fun about it, is if I had to actually rank the planets just by the planets themselves, it would have been nowhere near how I ranked them. And I also love the fact that we included Pluto, just simply for the fact that we grew up with Pluto.
Pluto was a planet when we were children, you know?
So I enjoyed that one. Like you said, there's one every year that's kind of like a random one, and it always ends up being in my top 3 episodes of that year. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, number 2, I have March Madness. I love those episodes. Like, and I'm glad to see this year's did well, because, like, this is one of those episodes where I'm like, I don't care if we get 8 listens. Like, if we get, like, the least amount of listens out of any episode we've ever put out, I will still put it out.
I don't care.
It's so much fun to do. I like doing the background. Hannah does quite a bit of, like, the actual structuring of, like, our Google Doc, but this last year I went into our previous episode and wrote descriptions that we gave to some of the returning mascots, so we could reference that, and, like, that was really fun. I guess the other thing that's fun about it is it's never going to be exactly the same, because it depends on how they structure the bracket. So even though I have, like, you can have similar winners from year to year, like, it could very drastically depend on who is in the bracket, like, new versus characters we've seen before, and, like, how they square up. So it's a really fun episode. I really enjoy it. It's a highlight of the year.
Yeah. I wonder if we have the same number 1.
I'm curious, too.
Because if we have the same number 1, when I say mine, if it's yours, I would like you to let me know so we can discuss it, just back and forth. Okay. Number 1, I went with Songs of the Summer. Country Boys. Yeah. And you're shaking your head, yes.
Yes.
Mostly for the fact that I've never heard Alyssa struggle to say... Trying to say Zach Bryan's name and then say Luke Bryan and then getting Luke Combs. Like, she couldn't differentiate the names.
I even wrote them down wrong too. Like, I just fumbled every name of every country artist. I couldn't believe it. It just kept going wrong. It just kept getting worse and worse every time.
And we have, from the bloopers from that one, we have probably like a minute of just like, Zach Bryan. No, Luke Bryan, no Luke Combs. Like, it's just the fact that she just kept going. And at one point she even said, I was staring at the correct name and I still said it wrong.
I still said it wrong, yeah. I was just like, it was there in front of me.
Not to mention the fact that I like Songs of Summer. I think Songs of Summer is kind of like March Madness. It's another one where it's like, it's fun. For the most part, it changes every year. We get some repeat songs, but we always end up with like different top 5s just because... And I also like the fact that we do best and worst. We don't do worst a lot. And I think for that one, it's fun to do worst because we can always find the worst songs of that year. So it's always fun. But the fact that you just struggled so much made it that much better.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I feel like there was a lot of laughing just in that one for us just because of how hard I fumbled the bag on names of everyone. But I also think it's fun. I like that we do that one yearly because, like, we've stated, like, before we did the podcast, we did a bunch of ranking of music to begin with. So it's nice to keep some of that intact, even though we don't do that anymore, just, like, on our own.
Right.
To still be able to do some of that, like, ranking of music and artists and stuff like that. So
it does remind me of, like, how we used to do music all the time. So it's kind of fun to go back to that sometimes.
It's nice to have that.
Yeah. Okay, so my episodes in order, number 7 was Variety Hour Part 3, Fast X, Studio Ghibli as a collection, TV finales, March Madness, Planets, and then Songs of the Summer.
And then starting with number 7, I have the Canned Chicken Noodle Soup ranking, then Fast X, Studio Ghibli Episode 1, Variety Hour, Planets, March Madness, and then Songs of the Summer.
Yeah. When this episode comes out, it will be a new year. It'll be 2024.
Yeah, we'll be in 2024.
So happy New Year's to everyone.
Yes, happy New
let's hope it's better than it's been the past couple years.
Fingers crossed for a positive 2024.
Positive election.
Yeah, well, don't even get me started on that.
Positive energy.
Yeah, positive energy in general would be lovely. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to, we have pretty much the first couple months kind of planned out, and we have, I think, 2 guests in the first couple months. So that'll be really nice. Yeah, a new guest and a returning guest.
And a returning guest. I was going to say, people have suggestions, because like we said, Planets was a suggested episode. I do have a couple suggested episodes people have asked for.
Yeah.
But yeah, feel free to send us suggestions if you're ever interested.
Yeah, we also we're trying to figure out, and this isn't really a spoiler because we covered Legend of Korra on this podcast. Yes. We are gonna plan to cover the live action Avatar show that's starting next month,
February 22nd.
Yeah, so it'll 2 months from now. I keep forgetting it's still December, and we're trying to figure out how we want to format that. So we might do like little weekly episodes. I think they all come out at the same time is what we determined.
There's like 8 episodes. They all come out on the same day, but like we could break it into individual or do a couple episodes.
Or do one long one. I don't know. We're trying to figure out how we want to cover that, but we are going to be covering it. So we might experiment with like some shorter episodes maybe, like some little ones, or you'll see it all in one go. You also might see some new formatted type episodes.
I was going to say we want to do some more like discussion based.
Yeah, we want to try some unedited episodes. So it's way easier for us to just like record and then like, light edit and then put out. Yeah. Maybe covering some news stories or related topics to stuff that we've covered.
Yeah.
We kind of want to do that, and I think playing with the unedited format would make that way easier for us to be able to do those more frequently than we would like a normal episode that we put a lot of like editing and stuff into. So yeah, I think look forward to some new stuff, some exciting things coming. And yeah, if you want to follow us, we have Instagram, we have Gmail, r3podcast@gmail.com. We also have a letterbox. As part of the holidays, I'm going to try to create our ranking lists for each of us on our letterbox account. So you can check those out for any of the long-form movie series that we've done, whether that's Lindsay Lohan, Fast and the Furious, Pixar. You can check those out there. When they are up, they hopefully will be by the time this episode comes out, but we'll see. But yeah, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, you can direct them to Hannah specifically.
Yes. I love the questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for listening.
Yeah, thank you for listening.
We appreciate our listeners.
Yes, anyone who listens to us, whether we know you or not, we appreciate you.
And here's to year 4.
Yeah, here's some water.
Here's some coffee.
I tip my hat to you.
Tip the hat and little cheers and year 4.
Bye.
Bye. We would like to thank Joseph McDade for our intro music. He provides free music available for all kinds of creative use. The song that we used is called Sunrise Expedition, and you can find it and his other music on his website, josephmcdade.com. If you would like to reach us, you can email us at r3podcasts@gmail.com. That's R, the number 3, podcasts@gmail.com. Or you can find us on Instagram by searching Research Rank Repeat. Oh my god.
My lighting
like my
lighting is so bad today. Like, do you see how dark I am in this room? And it's not that I don't know how to. Anyway, you keep going. I'm just trying to fix my lighting.
Yeah.